I did a study about exploring millennial target influencer and native advertising programs for the automobile industry. And I'm going to talk about several different things today and how I came to some of my conclusions, and also the research and implications that I found from them. So my main goals and objectives were to first study commodity culture, its birth and its existence, which I'll get to in just a moment. Define millennial demographic and psychographics. For those of you that don't know, a demographic is something that's tangible, that is a fact base, an age range, a salary. A psychographic is more of a psychology influence, what they're like. The MTV Viacom sheet that I've just handed out is a great example of a study about psychographics within millennials. And I'm also going to discuss car culture, the pressure that's on to sell cars, especially towards millennials, because as I will talk about today, millennials are less inclined to buy cars, and this is a major issue. We're also going to look at influencer programs, one being the GLA Pact, which Mercedes-Benz did specifically to target millennials. They use a lot of Instagram influencers, and we're going to look at that site today. And also find evidence of the influence of influencers. So, a little history lesson. After the decline of feudalism in Europe, capitalism arose. And these two men, Thorstein Veblen and Karl Marx, start to talk about what capitalism brings about and why it's so influential and how we view our stuff. Thorstein Veblen is a philosopher, and he comes up with this term called conspicuous consumption, which you actually can't see on the page down here. But Thorstein basically says that in order to be a gentleman or a person of society, it's not enough to have stuff, but you have to show it off. So if you have, for instance, in the Victorian era when Thorstein is writing, taxidermied objects were very popular, and people would have a collection of them like on their armoire. So when you would walk in, people would know your socioeconomic status based off of how many taxidermied objects you would have. Karl Marx also writes about the fetishization of the commodity in one of his writings, and he says that a commodity can just be seen and we can know what it is just by looking at it, because it's not just a car or it's not just a chair, but it's also who makes the chair, what the chair is, what it means to us, and how we value that chair. So these are two people that we should keep in mind while we're studying these influencer programs, because it makes us connect our values of capitalism with how we see our commodities in front of us. So my thesis and my main ideas state that both influencer programs and native advertising play a crucial role in marketing to millennials. Millennials are less inclined to buy cars, there's more of a pressure to sell, and influencer and native advertising is simply the backbone of what all advertisers are trying to do to get millennials to buy cars. And just to clarify, we're only talking about the car buying process, and we're only talking about in the United States. Okay. So millennials, we're millennials, and we're this big upcoming generation. We're born between 1980 to 2005, roughly. We're all early in our careers. The later millennials are in their 30s. We're kind of in the mid-range, as we're born in the 90s. And we're very, very, very invested in technology, which is great from a marketing perspective, because you have your mobile devices, you have your computers, and there's all these easy ways in which we can reach them. However, we value these things more than we would value something like a car, which is something a generation before us, like a baby boomer or Gen X, would see as something incredibly valuable. So we're less inclined to buy cars because we're so engrossed in our technology culture. As you refer to that handout that I gave you, this is a psychographic of what MTV and Viacom have gathered together through their research studies about millennials. One of them is, actually this is very funny. His name is Food Truck Frank, and you can't read the small print, but it says that he gave up ad agency life. Instead of making taglines to buy cars, he comes up with this food truck idea. So we're very entrepreneurial, we don't like to be told what to do, and we're very invested in our gadgets. We're also experiential. We would rather spend our money on not only technology, but also experiences. So this is also going to play a role in how car marketers try to appeal to us. And we're urban. We don't have the same need as other people before us had who lived in suburban or rural areas. We're really mostly concentrated in